So what we're looking at here is an Excel workbook, and what we need to do is to try and manage it. So I'm assuming here that you received this data set from wherever place it is. And to just give you background info is this data set was somebody's report. You don't know what the purpose this person had to do with this data set, but at least this is what we have. Now we need to make it into some usable format to be able to, for instance, be able to use it to further our processes. Now, how do we get this data set into a form in which we can use it? That is the essence of today's discussion. Now, we have the red sheet, which is what we're going to use. It's called our data. Then I have 3 blue sheets. Those are going to be more like practical try-ons when we finish this webinar, in case you want to try and practice the 1, 2, 3 tricks we're going to learn here today. Then I have a sheet that I love so much, the purple sheet. So far, I can see it's teasing you here and there. We'll talk about it when we're finishing the webinar. So for now, I'm going to focus on the red sheet because that is the purpose of this webinar. So the first step in doing data management is to be able to first create a copy. Never work on your data from the original report. Always create a copy, then do all the changes that you'd wish to make on the copy that you have created. The purpose of this is that you do not lose trace of the original information. 2, 3 months or years down the line, ESCC or all the other investigatory body might asking and saying, you know, you shared this report, where was this coming from? What you need to do is to be able to show them the original report from where you started working at. Now, I see somebody is asking for the password to our information. Thank you, Violet, for sharing it. That is the password to our workbook. Please put it in, then we can be able to quickly progress. Now, I was saying that the first step you want to do when working on data is to create a copy. How do we create a copy of this information? Well, there are various ways in which you can create a copy. And the first one, of course, is to copy and paste. But to be able to do data management, we want to also lose the formatting in this data. You notice that, for instance, in column A, which I have highlighted here, there are some cells that are blank. Or if you look keenly, you notice some cells have been merged. Okay? You'll notice that this person in rows number 6 and 7, he used some color. We do not know the rationale for this person deciding to have used this color. Now, this color is not going to assist us in finishing our data management. So what we need is this information, the data, to be able to use it for management. So we're going to copy this data and try to lose all the formatting that is behind this data. How well do we do that? On your Excel, on the Excel page you're looking at, I'll want you to click on this inverted arrow just before the intersection of A and 1. You see where my cursor is at? So click on this area to be able to select the entire sheet content. The reason why I'm clicking on this intersection here is so that in the event that after the end of this data, there was some other information here towards the end, I also capture it and be able to decide what to do with it. In case I had any other information, this other end. So what you need to do is first copy the entire sheet. That's what I've done. Then you realize that to copy on your laptop, you probably press the shortcut Control-C. So you're going to press Control-C. Alternatively, you can right click, then you'll find copy somewhere in there. Have we done that? So have you pressed Control-C, I'm going to need you to add a new sheet. Now this plus button at the very end here adds new sheets. So please click on it and let us have a new sheet. Do we have a new sheet on your end? I hope so. Now, you also know that pasting this data could be something like Control-V. But I'm going to dissuade you from pressing Control-V because it basically brings the data in the same format that it had that side. While our intention was to have this data and lose the formatting that it had. So I'm going to undo that step. So I believe you're at this point where you just copied. Coming to this sheet, you are going to paste values only. So the two options of pasting values is you can put your cursor on the first cell up here, right click, then you shall find the paste options. Then I will want you to choose the one that has 1, 2, 3. That is the paste values option. Alternatively, you can click up on the paste icon, click on the drop down we have there, then you shall find 1, 2, 3 just below paste values. Don't choose the one with the percentages because that will also bring number formattings, which we are trying to avoid. So just choose the basic 1, 2, 3. You shall have the same data, only difference have lost all formatting that went behind the data. I hope somebody is with me. Now, at this point, we have two sets of data that looks the same. One is our data. The second one is sheet 1, because we just created a new sheet. I'm going to ask you to rename this sheet to something like workings. How do we rename the sheets? You double click on the sheet name. Then you type the word you want, and I want us to call it workings. Then you press enter. Alternatively, you could have placed your name on the sheet name, right-clicked, and on the pop-up you shall see rename, and you decide. If somebody was wondering where I got my colors here, you shall find it while having right-clicked. You shall see tab color, and you are able to choose a color. So I'll make it red, just like workings was. And we have now 2 red sheets. This is the sheet from where we are going to do all our data manipulations. And the first step we need to do is to have a promoted header. What do we mean by a promoted header? Our data set needs to have a row. The first row up here needs to be the headers row. Headers is to mean if I have a name here, it is representative of the data that sits in that column. For instance, I can see this column here has some names, which means the effective column name should be something like customer name or name. And I can see those appear somewhere down here, which means any information that appears up here is not necessarily the header we are looking for. So we are going to need to delete these first few rows. We're going to need to delete these first few rows. And because we want to delete both the rows and the data in, we are going to use the shortcut Control minus, or we can right click and you will see delete. When you click delete, those rows are going to disappear. But I'm saying if you are looking for shortcuts, then you want to press and hold the control button, then hit minus, the minus button, the one you use to do subtractive operations on Excel. So control minus will make sure those rows rather disappear. Am I with someone? So at this point now, I realize the first row has something that looks like the column heads, but that is not comprehensive, but we shall get there. The next thing I want to do is to be able to just expand on my data to be able to see all the elements in their real substance. So what I'm going to do is I will come on the first column head. You see where my cursor is at? Then I will press the left click button and hold. Then I will scroll all the way to the end of the data to select basically the entire of my data, like I've done. Then I will come on the column heads. You see this line separating the respective columns. I will come and double click on any column head like that. What that operation does is it expands all my data, so I'm able to see where exactly my data starts and where it ends. So you see, I can now tell, for instance, that column G here has some data that seems to have been merged. I can see that column E here seems not to be having some data, and we're going to deal with that in the next step. So what I want to do at this point is the next step is to do away with all the blank columns, blank rows, and blank cells. That is the next operation. Do away with all the blank columns, rows, and cells, those that are not of need in our data set. So for starters, I'm going to see that column E here looks blank, but never just gaze. You have to be sure that it's actually blank. It could be that it's blank from the first few cells we can see, but somewhere towards the end, there's some data in there, like I'm trying to type there. How then do you know that the entire column is blank? When you click on the column head, like I've done, there we always have the summary statistics. Summary statistics down here, you'll see the sum, the count, the average, and what have you, depending on the type of data you've selected. So currently, it's telling me there's a count of 3, which is basically these 3 items that I've just typed as we were seeing. If these items were not there, and I'm deleting them, so they're not there, if I click on this column head, you shall see no summary statistics. So if you click on any column and you don't see the summary statistics down here, it means that column is blank all the way down. And I can just confirm that by putting my cursor on the first cell, pressing Control and the down arrow key. On your laptop, somewhere towards the right side, you have the top, left, up, and down keys. So I'm going to press the down key because I want to check if there's any data downwards from where my cursor is. So I'll press control down, and you shall see my cursor will go to the very last row, which is the 1,034,000 row. So I'll click control up to just come back up. And I'm saying any column that has blanks means it has no data. But because I'm trying to save time and I don't want to delete this column, then delete this one, and probably some other columns in the data, I want to delete all of them in a very smart manner. So what are we going to do is I will put my cursor on the first name, the word customer up here. So put your cursor on the first cell. I want you to press and hold Control Shift at the same time. Press and hold Control and Shift at the same time. Then because I want us to check towards the right is this side. I want us to check this other side. So with your cursor on the first cell, press and hold Control and Shift, don't release them. Then press the right key. Remember, I just said we have the top, down, left, and right keys. So press the arrow pointing right. So we're going to press the arrow pointing right until we see the last part of the data, which is balance. Please click on the right key until your selection hits the word balance. Are we there? Hopefully so. If you are there, what we want to tell Excel is, I want Excel to check for me in this area we have highlighted. Now notice that this selection could have been done by, left click, hold, and then dragging. But I mean, that is kind of manual. That is why the Control Shift and direction. So if I'm starting the selection from this side, I will now be clicking Control Shift and the left key because the rest of the data is towards the left. I hope you get the trend. So I'm going to tell Excel, instead of deleting each blank column, why don't you check for me in this selected area, check for me the cells that are blank, like these ones. Then when you find the blank ones, we will now delete these columns. All right. So what I'm going to do with this selection on, I will come to the Find and Select. It's on the Home tab. I'm just hovering around the Find and Select button, if you can see. I will click on Find and Select. This is where the Find and Select button is at, if you can see it. Then I will say Go to Special. I will click Go to Special. Yes. Then on this pop-up you're looking at, I will tell Excel I am looking for blank cells. You can see the word blanks. It's the fourth option button there. I will click on the word blanks. Basically, I'm telling Excel, I know I have highlighted some data, but please let us narrow this selection to only blank cells. So I'll check on blank and say, okay. What you're going to see in the background is some gray areas, but looking keenly, you will notice the gray areas are only on the blank cells rather. Be very keen. Do not come on your data and click anything, because if you click anything, you're going to lose that selection you just smartly made. So what I want you to do ASAP is, again on the ribbon, come and find delete under cells. You see where my cursor is? My cursor is up here. I don't know, maybe let me try and see if I can activate my the pointer. Where do we get the pointer? Yes, I have the spotlight. Yes, let me have the spotlight on. Yes.
And, Jason?
Yes, sir.
Kindly a minute. As we look for the pointer, I'd like to confirm if all of us are we on the same page, or some of us are lost. At least I've seen a couple of texts to me. Good. At least
we're on the same page.
Yes. At least from the chat, I'm seeing we're on the same page.
All right.
Yeah. So please, if you're lost, just type your comment on the chat, and then we'll be able to help. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. So I've gotten my pointer. So you shall be following the small red dot in case you don't find me well. So what we have done, just to repeat for purposes of that disruption there with Safred, is we clicked on this first cell, then we said Control and Shift, hold them down, then press the right arrow key because we want to select this all the way to the word balance, right there. Then we told Excel, in this selection I've made, please only pick out for me the blank cells. So what we did is we came to Find and Select, go to Special, and then said we only need blanks, and said okay. So now you notice that only the blank cells are selected. Then I want to tell Excel, on those areas that we have selected the blank cells, please proceed and delete the columns associated with them. That will mean that we'll have deleted these columns. I know we will also have deleted this column, but because I understand this data, you shall notice this column is a repetition of this column and all the other columns selected towards the right. So what you need to do is go to the cells grouping here. Then you shall see delete. Click on the drop down. Do not click delete. Click on the drop down just beside delete. Then say delete sheet columns. Now that is going to delete the associated columns on the blank cells selected in the previous step. Somebody follow me? So I'm going to say delete sheet columns, and what's going to happen is one swift move that gets us to the step we were looking for. So this is where we get at. I'm not sure if I'm with everyone. Are we with everybody?